Susu Katigaloo. Do you like jam? Well, boy, do I have the build for you. A tiny cottage in Hemford-on-Bagley made for Sims who love canning. So this build came about because I haven't played with cottage living in ages, and I've hardly ever actually played with the canning gameplay. I focused more on the giant vegetables and fruits and all the animals that came with the pack, so I wanted to build the perfect place to get making some jam really, and all those other preserves and that you can make with the EP. To get started, I made a sim, because I always find it easier and more helpful to have a sim to be inspired by when I'm building a house and, considering how I should be decorating and what I need to include. So I made Iris Bouchard, who is in the corner there. She is a creative, childish foodie elder sim with the freelance botanist aspiration. She's dressed very much cottage living, dialed to 100, and she's super duper cute. So Iris is recently retired. In my imagination, with all this new free time that she's got, she's been doing maybe a bit of cross-stitching and some painting, but mainly she's been growing fruits and veggies and getting really into jam making for the entire of Hemford-on-Bagley. So for that, I've put some jars outside the house and by the front gate, to suggest that she's leaving jam out for people to take as they please. And then, the neighbours probably drop off those jars again when they're done, so that she can reuse them. So the cottage here is just a nice, classic, kind of fairy tale-ish stone cottage. It's primarily made just for one sim, as it's really, small and cosy. But maybe Iris has some kids that have moved off to the big city and she's, decided to downsize into a much tinier place that doesn't require quite as much maintenance as a big, farm lot does in Hemford-on-Bagley. For the build, I was very much inspired by strawberry jam. So I go with a red and green colour theme. So here on the outside you can see that we've got this kind of reddy orangey roof tile, which has the red shingles on top, and I don't often use that colour of roof in my builds, but it really worked well here. Really brightened up the lot, and I tend to go for grey and black shingles most of the time when I'm building it in The Sims, but just red seemed perfect and really brought through that strawberry theme. So I feel like the roof is the body of the strawberry, and the green top is all the greenery, lushness around, but also the doors and the windows as well. They all have that green theme on the outside there. And I really love the bay window and the dormer window items that you can place on the property from Cottage Living. I did downsize the dormer window a little bit though, because the property was a bit too small to fit it on full size and not look a bit odd. But yeah, it turned out to be a really beautiful fairy tale cottage, and I do adore it. So at this point in the build, we are popping down a greenhouse, because I figured that Iris is going to need somewhere to grow some stuff during the winter, because I have a big section for planting and such, but that's obviously not going to be producing fruit all the time throughout the seasons, especially now in autumn and winter and such. So I do end up actually moving that greenhouse to the opposite side, because I end up with kind of 3, or I guess you could say 4 distinct sections outside the house itself. So on the right hand side we have that greenhouse, along with the flower bed item from Cottage Living, the big square patches of soil. I forget what the item is actually called, but yeah, so we have 2 rows of those big soil beds and the greenhouse on one side, so that's a dedicated gardening zone, I suppose, so she can get all her fruits ready for her jam making. And then in the middle we have a nice courtyard entryway with that curving stony grass path leading to the front. It's generally just a walkway, it's not got any special activity sort of a situation, but it's just a nice entryway with foliage and plantings in each corner, and some bins as well. And then on the left side we end up with a kind of a parking area, and at the back a wildflower, relaxing, reading your books under the trees kind of area. Somewhere where Iris can go just to simply relax, have some calm, tranquil time to herself. So at this point in the build we are looking at a bunch of debug items. I pulled out lots of plants and things, as you can see. Oh, that bike is so sweet. It's slightly rusted and old, very classic, perfect for this. And then I also pulled out on the left there, you can see 2 cars. You might think she's one person, why does she need 2 cars? But nonetheless, So I have the one little car, which is kind of, I think it's meant to be inspired by a Mini, very classic British car. So I have that little car to be maybe her runaround car. She's using that when she's just nipping into town, you know, just all around to see some friends or something. Then I thought the truck kind of car with the, you know, the wooden back there, that's more where she's loading up all of her jars and taking them to country fairs or down to those, you know, Hempel and Bagley events that they have in town. Or the village, rather. And yeah, I just thought it just made sense for her to have two. Even though we can't even drive vehicles in the Sims, but you know, they looked good. Here I am moving that greenhouse across. I put it on a diagonal, which I don't tend to build anything diagonally in the Sims. But since we're not using stairs on this, it wasn't too difficult to build a nice diagonal on this occasion. It's only a little box. I don't know if I could ever build a house fully on a diagonal, so it causes a little pain. So you can see we've got like those areas mapped out now by the lovely stone wall from this pack into those sections that I mentioned before. We've still got to move everything around, lots of plants to distribute rather, across the entire lot. Oh, and here we're putting those lovely jars out. So these are some debug random jars or cups or something that I found. I thought they were just going to be perfect for the requirements here. So you know, that's where all her collection of jars are being left, so she can, you know, reuse them later. Very handy, very cute kind of representation of that village spirit. It does feel like Hempel and Bagley is a very close village, isn't it? You know, everyone is in everyone's business, but they also seem to care for each other. And then, of course, multiple bins. I always put loads of bins on my lots because in England we've got lots of recycling and options like that, you know, whether you're going for your food, your papers, your glass, whatever. So I always give my Sims loads of bins. And we're starting to pick out which of, you know, the debug plantings I actually want to use. So like I said, I've kind of just filled each corner, each like harsh corner with plants. You know, she's a very green-thumbed Sim, so she would have plants everywhere, of course. Oh, and it's really cute little pieces. So we have like the little gnome with the flower kind of hair head tucked in that corner, and then in another corner I took the little rabbit item clutter from the pack as well. Just throwing those things around, because I never really use them in any other circumstance. I don't tend to use the gnomes at all. They kind of scare me, but that one's quite cute. So here we're inside the greenhouse. Popping down some, you know, just some basic pots and then a nice workbench. It's a really lovely workbench actually. That it's not, you know, completely empty, so you don't have to do too much cluttering yourself. And then I added a hanging plant from, I think it's from the Blooming Rooms kit in there, which was very nice to get for free from the Sims. Always enjoy a free kit. And also I put down that kind of two-decked, whatever it is, planter there. I thought maybe imaginarily it could be some herbs or something, but it's really just, you know, a plant. And then I threw down a box, just because, I mean, use a greenhouse, you're going to have some storage in there. I'm popping up some lanterns as well, just for a bit of lightness in the dark, although I don't anticipate Iris will be using her greenhouse very much at night time. And then it took me a while to find a trim I was happy with for the greenhouse. Obviously it's a glass roof, and sometimes the glass roof doesn't quite match what I'm looking for. Raising up another couple of items before I'm done with the greenhouse. You know, just a plant and, you know, the kind of like gardening trowel items. And then throwing down a couple more lanterns. I think they're debug lanterns, so they don't produce a heap of light, but they do look, you know, really nice. Oh, and then of course, so on the doorstep I added the, you know, when you order deliveries in cottage living, you know, your food deliveries, they come in a little paper bag, so it's like it's a debug item of that, and I figured, you know, she's ordered a delivery, everybody knows her, they've left it on the doorstep, she's good for it, everything's there ready for her to take in. And then I threw out this item, or threw down this item, which is I guess like it's like a pull along cart filled with plantings. There's some really good items like that in The Sims. You know, items that aren't actually meant for planting, but have been used for planting. So over there on the left, you see that I've added, you know, a few more wildish plants around the base of those trees, just to kind of ground that area for her relaxing station. And then we're going around with a bunch of terrain painting, which I had to do twice because I had an issue with my game and recording. Which, no one wants to have the terrain paint twice. But, we got there in the end. So essentially I just wanted to kind of have a nice brown edge to that path going in to the house, and also track marks where, Iris is walking to and from her benches or her, flower beds, or, anywhere that would be a through traffic area. And then also to have it under the cars, because is that, if you see it on like the wider lot, I think it's the Cordelia's Secret Cottage lot, all the way up, there's like kind of like a brown track, suggesting that vehicles or something has been making its way up there. So it's good to have, on a lot like this, rather, it's good to have a good amount of terrain painting down so that it doesn't feel quite so standing out from the environment around it. You want it to feel more integrated, more grounded on that kind of a lot. And of course, putting it under all of the, stone walls and around the building, which I know everyone does in The Sims, just makes houses feel more lived in, and, like they've been sat there for a while, they're not brand new or whatever. Well, that's my thoughts anyway. So yeah, like I said, we do a lot of terrain painting here. I was obsessed with this little corner here that I'm going over and over again and again, because I had done that one once already and I preferred how it looked the first time I did it. So I was like, I want this to be the exact same, but I couldn't quite get it there, but it still looks nice. And then we start to get ready to go into the inside of the house, which will end up with, I guess, 2 distinct sections. One half for the kitchen area, and then the other half steps down split level style to the rest of the house, because you'll see the entrance there is not steps, it's 2 platforms, just to give a bit more of an entryway where I can stack things, plants in jars and everything. Just a bit more room for that rather than it being just a staircase. So we put down some green stairs because we love our top of the strawberry theme. And I started with this really red wallpaper from Cottage Living, but decided it was a bit intense eventually to have such a red wallpaper in such a small space. So we go for the same wallpaper but in kind of that lighter, I think it's a white based kind of colour. And we go with the green counters from the pack. And I tried to use a good mixture of all those different types of upper cabinets, so it's not too homogeneous. So we put down all the cabinetry from Cottage Living and just pop around some clutter items to fill it up nicely, make it feel nice and lived in. So we've got, the aprons and lots of, cookware. You got that pot there and this jug behind the sink, or maybe she's putting like, her washing up scrubbers and her spatulas and things to dry, maybe, like we kind of do here. It seems like quite a nice and calm place to do your dishes, really, to be there. Looking out with a nice tree bench area view. I wouldn't mind it myself. We put in a jar of flowers as well next to it. And oh, that chicken item over there on the right is super duper cute. Again, I don't have a lot of places to use all of these items very often, because I've not been playing too much with the cottage life at the moment. But I just went 110% with the cottage core here today. And you can't forget your kitchen roll holder. Every sim should have kitchen roll holders, even though they're not using them. And some spice racks, and there's a milk jug and everything on the left, a metal milk jug. And I'm playing around with the the teapot item. It's not just teapot, it's the tray, with the entire little collection. And then I went with a darker red table and chair set to bring back that red colour that I got rid of on the wallpaper in the first instance, to keep that deep strawberry luscious feel. And also by going with this lighter wallpaper, it kind of allows me to use as much red furniture as I want in this section of the house. So we've got like a red, I think it's like a sideboard sort of item rather than an actual TV stand, but it worked quite well here. And then we put down a little TV, because I figured Iris is probably not doing loads of TV watching, but maybe of an evening she likes to sit down and kick back. So we have a red kind of love seat sofa, which is from, I believe, Paranormal. And then a, stripy green seat from, I think that is a Cottage Living chair actually. And I'm mixing a lot of patterns and things in here, but they do actually end up going quite well together. And then we throw down a coat rack, because there's not really a lot of space right when you walk in, but there's a nice little nook there to put some things down. So I put a coat rack there and an umbrella, the umbrella holder, and a cross stitch box for some free time skills. I wanted to try and fit as much as I could activity wise in the house and also be kind of reasonable. So like I said, we have the cross stitch box down there, and then we pop down, like, is it like a gramophone? Some sort of music listening device. I think it's a gramophone. And then throwing in some lighting. And then we move on to the bathroom. I went through a lot of colour options for the bathroom. I thought I would go for a greener theme, but end up going for the back to the classic red. And it's actually, I think it's a Realm of Magic wallpaper, which I don't use very much, but it just felt right. And I do apologise for using so many packs in such a small cottage. And I loved that I got to use, a full bathtub in this build, which was nice, not just a shower for such a small property. Plus it kind of just felt like it made sense because, it's an older tub and Iris isn't like renovating or modernising it. The house, that is. She's keeping it classic. So a proper tub was perfect. And then this sink is, I think, from Parenthood actually. So because it's not really got any slots to put items onto, like your toothbrushes and stuff where they can just click into the sink, or even you can raise it up onto a sink, but it didn't really fit. It's like the rim of the sink is a bit too thin for that. So instead I sized down a little table and then just raised up some objects onto it, because you can reach down and use them, the clutter anyway, rather than being actually usable. So we have a toothbrush, some sized down towels to be, hand towels, and a soap dispenser, and just a mirror, on top. And then a little shower caddy. And I spent some time trying to decide which towels I wanted to use. We ended up going with the ones there from, not those ones, those ones. They're from, which is the most recent family pack? Growing Together. Going through all the swatches to one that's not, too kiddie. Maybe she has grandkids come in, but she was living on her own most of the time. So we choose just the best possible swatch of those, because I think they're really nice, rather than being such, stagnant and squared off towels. They look used, and, like, they're not just there for decoration. So they're nice. It's a nice item. And then we move on to the bedroom. So we finally bring kind of a greener theme back in. I guess it's like a tealy based on that wallpaper. And we have our nice green bed. And it's like a vanity / dresser item. And then I remembered that I hadn't put windows in this section, so I added a couple more. And then we go in with the blinds. Because I haven't really used blinds elsewhere in the property. But for some reason, I feel like I just can't not have them in a bedroom. I think it's based on a real life fear of there being someone outside that I can see at night or something. But yeah, so we've got the curtains in there, slightly different colour just to break up all of the green. And then we throw in this kind of like cloth poster that maybe she's got from, being down in town. And some candles and other little bits around the room. And then I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with this last kind of remaining corner. So I go with a, it's like a side table item, but it's, actually obviously like a fruit crate, which just felt perfect for Iris, because she's living the life with the fruits and the veggies and the jam. She's going to have lots of crates and things, lots of spare boxes around from anything she's bought or packaged up or sent off. So yeah, a crate rather than a normal table I thought would be really good for her. And I just threw a plant on top of it. Then I wanted to get like another skill building item in, so I went with the easel, because she does feel like quite a creative sim, my Iris. So we go with the easel, and in a way it's kind of like she's painting whatever those flowers are on top of that crate. At this point we now just go around and we add some final touches, some final clutter. So we add the toilet paper in, and the hand towel, and we're just cleaning up a bit of the outside positioning of some stuff. And we're checking out how it looks at night time, so we can add in some lighting, some lanterns and things around, just to give the lot a nice little glow. You see there, we just pop them at the front and under the trees, just around the corners, just so there's a bit of light at night. But because it is such a rural lot, I didn't want it to be too lit up. So this is essentially the end of the property now, a little tour here. And if you do want to download it, you're very welcome to. I'm Tess Sophia on the gallery. I'll pop that down below as well. And I hope you've enjoyed this build. It was really fun to do. And thank you so much for watching. Dag dag!